Forget the clean, matching uniforms from the documentaries. In 1945, Soviet naval infantry going ashore in the Far East were dealing with surf that soaked everything, rocks that turned decks into skating rinks, and mud that ate standard issue boots. Regulations demanded uniform footwear, inspected and issued through supply channels. Frontline reality didn't care. Men wore what kept them upright, quiet, and moving, even if it was wrong. These are the 7 banned boots Soviet naval infantry used in 1945 landings. Number 7. Japanese tabi. Prohibited practicality. Uniform regulations pushed standard, issued footwear. Leather sapogee or ankle boots, proper puttees, no improvisation. Naval infantry were supposed to look like naval infantry, because the rear area logic was simple. Standard kit makes supply and discipline possible. In the Kuril Islands and southern Sakhalin operations of August 1945, some men went for something that didn't belong in a Soviet depot at all. Captured Japanese tabi. Split-toe cloth footwear, light on the foot, quiet on wet rock. If you're climbing out of a boat onto jagged shoreline, silence and traction matter more than looking correct. Tabi could also fit inside over shoes, or be worn as a stealth layer when leather soles slipped. It worked in the narrow problem it solved: grip and quiet movement on deck and coastal rock. But cloth is honest. It soaks. In cold surf and wind, wet feet stopped being an inconvenience and started being a medical problem. Soviet medical reports from late war amphibious conditions repeatedly flagged maceration and trench foot type injuries when men stayed wet too long. Tabi helped you land. Sometimes they punished you afterward. Number 6. Rubber fishing waders. Illegal environmental adaptation. Soviet dress rules didn't leave much room for whatever works. Boots were boots. Pants were tucked a certain way. The idea of a soldier turning up in civilian fishing gear was, on paper, a discipline issue as much as a supply issue. But landings aren't parade ground problems. In marshy stretches and flooded low ground in the 1945 Far East campaign, some Marines used rubber fishing waders, the kind that came up to the thigh or chest. The logic was brutally practical. If you expect to wade off a boat, cross tidal flats, or move through reed-choked water, dry legs buy you time, warmth, and fewer blisters. Rubber also meant no waterlogged leather adding pounds with every step. In shallow water and mud, waders could be the difference between moving and floundering. They kept men warmer and reduced skin breakdown during long wet approaches. But when they failed hard. A tear from brush or sharp rock turned them into buckets. Water rushed in, weight doubled, and a man could lose mobility at the worst moment, climbing a bank, stepping into a hole, or trying to sprint under fire. Number 5. Felt Valenki. Winter warmth versus cold lethality. Valenki were known, issued, and loved in the right context, but often restricted for active combat movement. They're warm felt boots, great in dry cold, clumsy when you need agility. Official expectations leaned toward footwear that could handle marching, obstacles, and wet ground without turning into dead weight. Now put yourself in an August 1945 landing where summer still means cold water, hard wind, and long hours of standing around soaked. Some men grabbed Valenki anyway, sometimes under overshoes or with improvised coverings, because warmth is not a luxury, it's a weapon against exhaustion. A Marine shivering uncontrollably can't aim well, can't think cleanly, and makes bad decisions fast. In dry cold, Valenki did their job. They insulated, and for short periods they kept feet functional when leather boots chilled through. But amphibious reality punished them. Felt drinks water. Once saturated, they got heavy, lost shape, and dried slowly. That led to blistering, impaired movement, and documented cold injuries that looked like frostbite risk even when temperatures weren't extreme, because wet plus wind can outwork a thermometer. Number 4. Improvised rope-soled shoes. From ship to shore ingenuity. Naval units had regulations for shipboard dress and landing gear, and they assumed issued footwear would be good enough. The problem is a wet deck under load. Salt spray, oil, and hurry turned metal into something close to ice. A fall on deck doesn't just hurt you, it takes you out of the loading cycle. So some sailors and Marines got clever. Rope-soled shoes, improvised from available cordage and scraps, showed up as a traction fix. The sole was the point. Rough fiber biting into wet surfaces where smooth leather slid. It's a rational, low-tech answer when you don't have purpose-built deck shoes and you're moving ammo boxes, mortar rounds, and men toward a boat ramp. On ship, the grip could be excellent. It reduced slips, sped up loading, and kept hands free because you weren't constantly grabbing rails to stay upright. Then the landing happened. Rope doesn't like sharp volcanic rock, gravel, or long movement inland. The soles frayed, separated, and sometimes came apart entirely. Would you keep the official boot that might drop you on a steel deck, or the illegal shoe that might disintegrate once you hit shore? Before we move on, if you were stepping off a boat into cold surf, would you bet on traction or waterproofing? Tell us what you'd pick and why. Subscribe if you want the non-myth version of WWII equipment. We're not done yet. Number 3. Cut down sapogee. When the standard boot becomes a liability. Regulations assumed a tall boot for a reason. Standard sapogee were meant to seal with puttees or trousers, keep mud out, and protect the ankle and shin. Modifying issued kit wasn't fieldcraft. It was damage to state property, and it could get you flagged in an inspection. But surf doesn't care about your paperwork. A tall boot that fills with water becomes a column of weight that slaps your calf every step. So some naval infantry took knives to their own boots. Cut the shafts down, sometimes to ankle height, sometimes lower, then punched extra holes and laced them with cord so they'd cinch tight. The point wasn't comfort. It was drainage and control. If water can get out, you can keep moving. If a boot stays tight, it doesn't twist your foot when you jump from a boat onto rock. In the short, violent problem of getting off the shoreline, the hack worked. Less suction in mud, faster footing after a wade. But it also exposed skin to abrasion and cold spray, and a badly cut boot could unravel at the seam. One man moves faster. Another bleeds, blisters, and loses the boot entirely 2 kilometers inland. Number 2. American Lend-Lease boots. Better leather, wrong identity. Officially, footwear was part of uniformity, not just comfort. Soviet Naval Infantry were expected to wear Soviet patterns, sized and issued through their own supply system, with repairs and replacements planned around that. Foreign kit was tolerated in some categories, but it wasn't the look commanders wanted on a landing. Reality. Lend-Lease didn't arrive as a neat, complete outfit. It arrived as mixed lots, and boots were one of the items that sometimes filtered forward. American-made service shoes and boots tended to have consistent sizing, durable stitching, and rubber soles that handled wet surfaces better than worn leather. For a marine facing slick decks and soaked shorelines, that mattered. Men traded for them, acquired them, wore them until they failed. When you got a good pair, they reduced slips and held together through saltwater better than a tired, resold boot from a depot that had been stretched past its life. The risk was logistics and visibility. Odd sizes meant no spare parts, no matching replacements, and the wrong boot could mark you to an officer who cared more about uniform compliance than what kept you upright under load. Number 1. Locally purchased work boots. The quiet economy of survival. The regulations wanted predictability, standard boots, standard repair methods, and a paper trail. Naval infantry weren't supposed to shop their way into combat readiness. A landing force that looks mixed, the logic went, is a landing force that's hard to supply and harder to control. Then you hit ports, villages, and staging areas where civilians have been solving wet ground problems for generations. Locally purchased work boots, heavy leather, sometimes hobnailed, sometimes with crude rubber half soles, show up because they're available now, not after the next requisition cycle. Men bartered tobacco, traded rations, paid with whatever currency still moved. The goal wasn't style. It was a boot that fit, that gripped, that didn't collapse when it stayed wet for a week. Sometimes those boots were exactly right. Thick uppers that resisted abrasion on rock, tough soles that took punishment, and a fit that reduced blistering on long walks inland. Other times they were a trap, cheap leather that split at the toe, nails that telegraphed noise on deck, or soles that turned slick with algae. The same solution could save one man and sabotage another. All of this points to the same gap. Institutions designed for averages, Standard sizes, standard conditions, standard behavior. Landings punish averages. They forced personal math: weight versus warmth, traction versus silence, uniformity versus the next 10 meters of ground. If you want World War II history without simplification or mythology, subscribe. We follow the small, physical decisions that doctrine can't fully control, because that's where real campaigns are won, stalled, or simply survived.